Hello, this is Kane for talking about week 2 of the ENC Draft League for Tarboro Tatsugiris, which is the team that I am coaching. So I'm just going to go through the team builder real quick, what I thought he would bring. We were fighting against Lil Techa in the Winterville Weaviles. I did not record the battle live, so I'll just go over the replay with that right after I go through the team preview here. Alright, let's get into it. So versus his team, it's a little bit of an awkward team here. He's got a lot of setup sweepers that I had to be wary of, and a lot of just solid mons. So we have the Landers who could go either defensive or he could go scarfed. Those were the two things. Defensive set's pretty hard to deal with, unless I have Chi on the field and it's faster, or I can get Jolteon Terra Water and have it be faster. Other than that, this thing is a bit annoying, but it's not too terrifying for my team. Volcarona is something that you can set up with Quiver Dance, could be an issue, but I have a couple good special walls that while this wasn't the biggest deal. The spot throw was something I had to be at least somewhat wary of because of Calm Mind, Speed Boost, Protect, Stored Power sets. Even with my specially defensive walls, if he gets enough Calm Minds up, his stored powers can pretty much sweep through my whole team if my Chi-Yu is just gone. So that thing is really terrifying to plan for. Cloyster, I went into this match, or when I'm prepping for this match, I don't think he would bring it at all. Specifically just looking at my team. It did give him a 6-0 in week 1, because he got a Shell Smash up and pretty much swept the whole team with it. But looking at my team and how I have stuff like Quick Feet, Jolteon to outspeed it even after a Shell Smash, and etc. I can also have quick attack on this thing to stop it. So in my opinion, he had no reason to ever bring it, so I didn't plan for it at all. Mousehold I thought was not an option for him to bring, pretty much. I didn't think it did very well in the matchup. Population Bump can one-hit kill most of my team, but the problem is I have Torkoal, and if I just put a Rocky Helmet on it, then Mousehold kills itself, essentially. Hydreigon and Hoopa. Let's talk about them together real quick. I thought he would bring one of these two. I thought he would bring specifically Hoopa because this thing is more specially defensive, and I figured he would want more of a specially defensive Mon to be able to deal with my Chi-Yu, because my Chi-Yu can pretty much run rampant if he doesn't have Hydreigon, Hoopa, or Diancie up and healthy on the field, or on his team for that week. Diancie, I thought this Mon was a surefire Mon he'd bring. Good tank for defense and special defense. A good stab coverage with Body Press, Diamond Storm, Moonblast, etc. It hits most of my team for neutral or super effective. Cause like you get Diamond Storm, my Chi-Yu, Torkoal, Noivern. And it gets a defense boost too, which is huge, because if he gets a defense boost, then my physical attackers can't exactly touch it. And like Moonblast and Body Press hit the other mons that don't do as well. Like Moonblast hits Slitherwing, hits Grim, hits Lilligant. I think Body Press does a lot to Jolteon because my Jolteon's defense isn't great. Moonblast hits Goodra, Noivern, and Tatsugiri, and then Body Press hits Komala. So I figured DNC was pretty much a surefire win. And I had to be careful of either him getting defense boost on, what's it called? Diamond Storm. And I had to be wary of him boosting his special defense, special attack with Calm Mind. Because if I let him get out of control and I don't have a check to DNC that can OHKO it, then he runs through my whole team. So I figured he would bring DNC for sure. I figured Spidops wouldn't come. I don't think he got enough use out of them on for my matchup. Tauros. I expected this Mon 100%. He picked up Tauros specifically because I picked up Grimmsnarl, and he wanted a Mon to deal with screens. So I was like 100% certain he'd bring this. I thought he would bring a Scarf set. I'm not sure what he actually brought, but my guess was a Scarf set with like Outrage, Earthquake, Raging Bull, and Close Combat, because it covers a lot of my team just with those 4 moves. And then Pachirisu, I didn't expect at all. So what I expected going into this game was Landorus T, some sort of either defensive or scarfed, pretty much is what my thought process was. Volcarona heavy duty boots with quiver dancing, with quiver dance, flamethrower, buck buzz, and morning sun. Espathra with calm mind, stored power, dazzling gleam, and either protect or roost. Hoopa unbound with AV, with like knockoff, drain punch, and then like 2 other coverage moves that he could have. I wasn't too sure about what he could else bring because Hoopa doesn't get as much coverage as I thought. Diancie with Body Press, Diamond Storm, Moon Blast, and Calm Mind. And then Tauros with the Scarf set I said earlier. That was my prediction for this. So, if we go back to the team builder here, going into this, I originally had a much different team. Originally it was this team, I think. It was slightly different. So, Chiyu originally had, I think, Choice Specs or Adrenaline Orb. My thought process was if I have Landorus in and I have an Adrenaline Orb, I can outspeed it and kill it with Flamethrower, even if it is scarfed. Then I nixed that because I'm like, I don't want to have the chance that it's speed tying me for some reason. Or just have a shot that it's just going to kill me and I can't kill it. So I nixed the Adrenaline Orb. I switched to Eject Pack because I was like, if I could start it, she was like not a bad starter versus a lot of his team. Or versus half his team it's good and half his team it's not. And if it's like well, looking back on it was actually pretty bad because the 2 mons that are good leads for this in all honesty are the 2 mons that will take me out of it because it'd be Tauros and Lando, which are 2 mons I can Oko with Chiyu, so it was a pretty bad idea. Glad I changed that. And then I had a Quick Feet Jolteon. I'll get back into that set when we get to my actual team. Hisuian Lilligant with Mirror, because I was like, what if he does bring Cloyster? What if he does Quiver Dance with Volcarona? Or Calm Mind Espathra? I can switch in, get the boost myself, and have a boosted acrobatics to do with like Volcarona, and then can pretty much deal with the rest of his team. So that was my original like sweep mon. AV Gudra, I'll talk about that more in a second. Torkoal, this mod actually originally had the Eject Pack. Then I realized that Drought doesn't go off before I have to switch out because I'm slower than the Lando, which means my ability would go second, which means that his Intimidate would hit me first, Eject Pack would go off, and then I'd switch out. So I wouldn't be able to get Drought up, which I thought if I could get Drought up, go Chiyu, and just start flamethrowing things, then I'd be great. But it didn't really work out like that, so I had to switch things up. So I'll get to the Rocky Helmet set in the actual team. And then Komala, I'll get to him now too. So this is the team I ended up going with. I switched out Lilligant for Grimmsnarl here. Now this team is similar. So we're going to start off with Chiyu, because he's at the top. Good old Chiyu vs. Kong. So this is similar to the other one, but I put Mirror Herb on him, because I'm like, Chiyu does a better job at sweeping than Lilligant does if I get the boost. What's it called? Volcarona, Quiver Dances, and I switch in on it, getting a Quiver Dance, I'm now +1 in Special Attack and Speed, and Special Defense too. Which essentially means I Oko his whole team with Flamethrower, besides Diancie and Hoopa, who I think I 2-hit Oko Hoopa, and I think I 3-hit Oko Diancie, which is, an issue. But it puts, if I get rid of those 2 mons, and he tries to set up and I still have Chiyu alive, then I pretty much can sweep his team. So I was like, this is a decent option. Most of my practice games ended up having Hoopa as one of the last few mons that they would keep. So I was like, it's not the most sound strategy, but I can at least scare him into switching out and getting at least a good 50% chip on something. So I did that. I did speed specifically to like outspeed Lando and stuff like that. I originally had Modest, and I was like, I kind of want the speed so I don't get outsped by Lando and die. Jolteon. So Quick Feet coming in clutch. The first set, and I was like, it works well the second set because it means I can outspeed Scarfed Lando and be able to kill it with Terra Water Terra Blast. I can outspeed Scarfed Tauros and kill it with Volt Switch, which is huge because Scarfed Tauros decimates my team. It deals with what does it deal with? It deals with Espathra really well because I can outspeed it after 2 speed boosts, I think, and then Shadow Ball it back twice and kill it. And it's just a good Volt Switcher because I can just Volt Switch out on everything. Also, Terra Water Terra Blast, I think Oko's Volcarona, if I'm not mistaken. But other than that, like Terra Water Terra Blast and Volt Switch do so much against his team. I either Oko his team with it or I chunk it and I switch out, which is really big. And then Protect to make sure I can get Flame Orb off versus like the Scarfed Tauros if I'm in, because the Tauros definitely one shots me and I die. So Goodra, I recently picked this thing up last week for just I wanted more special coverage. I wanted a special tank as well as a mom with good coverage that can deal with several situations. Excuse me. But so I brought him because I'm like, this Goodra is a huge check to Volcarona. For the most part, Volcarona cannot touch it at all. Goodra has coverage to kill Lando with Ice Beam, and I can tank at least 1 Earthquake. Versus Espathra, I don't do anything versus it, but I can just Dragon Tail it out of there if it tries to set up. So if like it tries to Calm Mind and do a setup sweep versus me, I Dragon Tail it and I switch it out, and all the stats get reset and everything. Same thing with like Cloyster. If the Cloyster tries to, what's it called, Shell Smash, that the turn, because like I don't think he goes Icicle Spear immediately. I think he just tries to Shell Smash because he's probably gonna run Focus Sash. So I'm like, if I Dragon Tail it out of there, then he doesn't get the boost and he switches out. And if I have Rocks up, then he just takes so much chip switching in and out with Dragon Tail. It's insane. Ice Beam again for Lando. Rock Slide was specifically to hit Volcarona because it can't touch me, and if I don't have like Rock Slide, then I can't touch it because Hydro Pump is good, but I don't want to rely on an 80% accuracy move. And I'm like, this Volcarona is probably going to be max HP, max defense though. So I'm like, I need Rock Slide to do at least 75% so I can outpace its Morning Sun healings. So I went for the mixed attacker Goodra with a minus speed nature because I'm not going to need to outspeed anything really of importance. So, and then Thunderbolt for coverage versus Tauros and Cloyster. The only thing this thing doesn't deal with at all is Dancy. I can Dragon Tail or hit something else for super effective damage, except for Dancy, who, since he's fairy, is immune to Dragon Tail, and then I kind of can't touch it. So that's the one issue with Goodra. Also, Gooey, just in case like Tauros hits Outrage on me, and I can slow it down, and if I don't have Jolteon around, then I can outspeed and kill it. Also, like, if Hoopa hits me, and is for some reason a fast Hoopa, then it lowers its speed, and then it makes it so like Kamala can come in and U-turn and kill it, etc. Yeah, so the EV spread here is, for Goodra, is all HP, so I can live certain hits. A lot of special tags, so I can kill Lando in 1 hit, and so I can kill Tauros in 1 hit, and Cloyster as well. And then the rest of it went into attack and defense. The 76 attack was specifically so I could outpace Morning Suns, so I could Rock Slide it and outpace it and 2-hit Oko it even if he tries to heal. And the defense was specifically so I could live Tauros, I think outraging me. I think that's what I put it in for. For Torkoal, this mod, I changed something last minute. I originally had Rapid Swing to get rid of rocks, and I switched it off to Will-O-Wisp because I figured burning either Cloyster for some, like if I have Torkoal in versus Cloyster and I burn it, then he pretty much loses his attack boost, and then I can Solar Beam it the next turn because he can't kill me after he's burned. And the burn damage would stop the sash, and then I Solar Beam it, and since Cloyster is really bad special defense, it dies. So this one, so Solar Beam, I said that for that. That's also to deal with Tauros. Stealth Rock, because if I can get Stealth Rocks up and then Dragon Tail things with Gudra, it just stacks up a lot of entry hazard damage. And then there's Stone Edge, which is specifically EV'd to Oko Volcarona with max HP, max defense. So I'm 132 attack Brave Nature to specifically Oko Volcarona if need be. For Komala, so Komala was my, like, this is the mon that's going to save me. That's like, we had so much trouble dealing with team building for this team. And we were having trouble, like, what hits, like, Hoopa destroys my team, DNC destroys my team. I'm talking with Sig Trick, trying to do mocks. And I have Tatsugiri because, like, Tatsugiri can hit a lot of things on here for good stab damage. And we're just testing things out, and he picks Hoopa and DNC, and I realized that I can't touch it. So we're going over things like what hits it super effectively, 4 times. For Hoopa, it's Bug, and I don't exactly have many Bug options on my team. For DNC, it's Steel. And again, I don't have too many Steel options for my team. For Landers, it's Ice, which I have a few. And then there's Volcarona with Rock, which I had virtually none. And I'm like, this is a problem. And then I offhandedly start looking up Komala stuff. And I think Sig said something about it as well. And I realized it gets Ice Spinner for Lando and can Oko it because it has a base 115 attack stat. Rock Slide for Volcarona, Iron Head for Diancie, and U-Turn for Hoopa. And it Okos all 4 of them with the Choice Band set. In fact, it Okos all of them, I think, with even an Expert belt set, except for Defensive Lando, which is max HP, max defense. I think it's like a roll, and I didn't want to take a chance with a roll versus Lando, so I just Choice Banded it. So that's the reason for all these 4 moves. They're literally just coverage to deal with the walls that I can't deal with otherwise. And the EV spread, it's 160 plus attack, specifically with Choice Band. Oko's Lando, defensive, like max defense, max HP, defense nature. That EV spread specifically perfectly kills it in the range. The speed here is to speed creep Hoopa. Because Hoopa Unbound usually runs like, I think it's like 92 92 speed. Yeah, 92 speed is what most of them run. So like if he brings Hoopa and I go Komala, he might try to speed creep by 1, so I just spec crept it 1 more to make sure. This also speed creeps defensive Lando. So I can deal with that. I can kill Lando instantly, which is good. Komala is naturally Spit F bulky, so I take pretty much any hit from Volcarona and Espathra, and I can Oko Volcarona, and I do like 70 to Espathra with U-turn. So it's just a good mod all around. The only issue is that it doesn't have great speed, but with its coverage and attack stat, it does so much. And then the rest I just put into HP to live a what's it called? A Landorus Earthquake. Like a max attack Landers Earthquake. I wanted to make sure I could live one of those, just in case. That's Komala. And then finally, Grimmsnarl, the last addition to the team. So, I knew he was bringing Tauros for screens, and I was like, I'm not going to let him get much use out of the Tauros. So my Grimmsnarl was specifically not screens, but instead a Frisk offensive attacker with a jetpack. So this mon's whole gimmick was to start the game off and versus Lando, because I predicted he leads Lando 10 out of 10 times. So I start the game off Grimmsnarl versus Lando. If he is less speed than 240, because I specifically max speeded my Mon to make sure I outspeed defensive Lando. Because if I don't do Jolly and I do like anything else, I'm 1 speed less than like defensive Landos. So I had to go Jolly to do this. And this lets me see if they're fast or slow. So, because like abilities go based on speed. So if I come in and my Frisk goes off before his Intimidate goes off, then I know he is a defensive slower Lando. But if I come in and his Intimidate goes off first, which activates my jetpack, then I know he's a fast Lando or a scarfed Lando. So that's the way to get my good lead. After that, I would switch into Komala if it's defensive, because then I outspeed and kill with Ice Spinner. And if it's Choice Scarf, I could also lead Komala and Ice Spinner, because I live at Earthquake. Pretty much, yeah. Which is good. Again, Frisk was to make sure to check items on Lando to see if it's Scarfed. On Cloyster to see if it's Focus Sashed. And then on Tauros to see if it's Scarfed. Those are the three like mons I had Frisk for, because I was like, Frisk Grim could actually do work if I know what the other team's items are. For the moves, Leech Life is to hit Hoopa for super effective and essentially OHKO it. Spirit Break is to hit Tauros and pretty much like do like 80% of that. It also OHKOs Hydreigon if he brings it. Ice Punch to hit Landorus. I think it almost OHKOs it. And then Trick to cripple either Tauros, or not to cripple, but to take away the Scarf from Tauros, to take away the AV from Hoopa if that need be, to take away the Heavy Duty Boots from Volcarona if I have rocks up, etc. But that's the team builder. I think I missed everything else. Oh yeah, Rocky Helmet for Torkoal was here specifically to deal with Tauros, and for if he brings Mousehold, Mousehold kills itself with Population Bomb on my Rocky Helmet, which I thought was hilarious. So that's the whole team right here, and I shall get to the match in 1 second. Alright, so here we have the replay of me, Kyle Canner, the Turbo Tetsugiris versus Lil Techa, the Winterville Weaviles. Going into this match, I was a little afraid of getting set up and sweeped upon if I didn't have like Gujo or something. He actually did set up sweep with Cloyster week 1, which happened, and got won a 6-0. So I was like a little interested, a little scared. His team is actually kind of rough for my team to deal with for the most part, so I was a little scared going into that. But in terms of the mons he brought everything I expected except for Hoopa, which he brought Cloyster instead, which surprised me a little bit. But it was like, okay, I can deal with Cloyster. Especially if I get rocks up, I can just deal with Focus Sash instantly and kill it, which is like really good in my mind. But he brought everything I expected except for the Hoopa, and Hoopa gave me a bit of trouble. But I also had a lot of things to deal with it, so I was a little sad because I really prepped hard for Hoopa, and not seeing it there was like, oh, that leaves a lot on the table that I could have done for other things. But, so let's get the match. So, he starts off Lando, and I start off Grim. Alright, so let's go to this. So, he, I don't see his item here, because he's faster than my Grim, so his Intimidate went first. So that pretty much gave me the information that he was either fast Lando or scarfed Lando. And at that point, I don't want to bring in Komala, because I see Diancie here. And if I go Komala, I don't want to get chipped enough to where Komala can't deal with Diancie, and I don't want to end up getting burned by Volcarona's Flame Body if he switches it in, predicting an Ice Spinner. Because if I'm burned, I can't kill Diancie in one hit, which I very much need. So instead, I go for Jolteon. He doesn't know what Terra type I am, so Jolteon is my Terra Captain. So in my mind, he thinks I'm Ice. So, but here I was like, maybe he just tries to Earthquake me. I don't want to lose Jolteon instantly. Because if I lose Jolteon, I lose my Scarf Tauros counter. And so here I go for the safe play of Protect, just in case he tries to Earthquake me and call a bluff. Which, good for him. So he switches out immediately into Diancie while I try to Protect, and nothing happens. Here I'm like, okay, so I can either both. I think I made a misplay here, which is funny. But here I switch right into Komala because I have no reason not to. My misplay was I should have Bolt switched to get at least some chip damage off. Because if this thing is especially defensive, or not, if he's physically defensive, like max HP, max defense, I think Iron Head has a chance to not kill. So I should have Volt switched here. He Earth Powers me on the switch in, which is good because I'm especially defensive. Iron Head because I outspeed. I kill it. He switches in Volcarona because I'm Trust Bandit, so he decides to set up here. If I wasn't Trust Bandit, I could have easily killed him with Rock Slide and swept pretty much his whole team, except for Tauros, which is kind of funny. But but Since I'm Bandit, I have to switch out. I go into Gudra. He quiver dances and realizes that he can't touch me, and he's probably fearing a Hydro, so he switches into Spathra. I reveal Rock Slide, probably stupidly. I know he's gonna set up, so I Dragon Tail here. Does a good chunk and switches out. He switches to Gudra, and right here, what do I predict? I think, in my opinion, he thinks I'm gonna Rock Slide again, probably. So here, I try to predict a switch into Tauros. Because in my brain, his Tauros has Outrage, and it's Scarfed. So he kills me off of this. So I'm like, okay, if he switches into Tauros, I Thunderbolt it, and I kill it. If he switches into a Spathra or Cloyster, Thunderbolt does a huge chunk of damage. If not, kills both, essentially. And if he switches into Volcarona, I get enough chip on it that I can kill with Rock Slide. So I'm like, Thunderbolt is a safe option. So I T-Bolt, but he switches to Lando, which is a good play on him. At this point, I revealed 3 of my 4 moves, 2 being physical and 1 being special. So essentially the last move for him, he has to gamble whether it's Ice Beam or not. He sets up Rocks here as I Ice Beam it. He actually, in chat afterwards, he goes, right before I clicked, in his words, right before I clicked Stealth Rock, I thought, does this thing get Ice Beam? And then this happens. So I do that. He sends in Cloyster. Let me go back to her. So we do this. He brings in Cloyster here. Now here, my brain is like, he Shell Smashes here. There's no reason, no way he doesn't Shell Smash here. And so I switch into Chi-Yu to try and Mirror Herb the Shell Smash, and he switches to Spathra instead. Here was, let me go here. So when it's a Spathra Chi-Yu, I gotta check a calc real quick actually, just to make sure. So my thought process is I could Flamethrower and chip anything down, but what if I make a huge read? What if I predict that Tauros comes in? And what if I decide to Psychic instead? So I want to see how much Psychic does to a Spathra though. So it doesn't kill a Spathra. So it could have been, well, I don't think he can kill me even with 2 Calm Minds up and 2 Speed Boosts, because all he has is Dazzling Gleam. So I think I still would have been fine. But I'm like, okay, so he doesn't want to switch in Cloyster here because he wants to get a Shell Smash up safely. He don't want to switch in Volcarona because he gets killed immediately with Flamethrower. And my thought process is Spathra gets outsped and dies here. He switches in to Tauros, predicting a Fire move probably, or a Dark move, and then trying to Choice Scarf kill me back. And so my brain is like, alright, I have to Psychic here. It hits everything into chunking range essentially, and it kills Tauros. So I click Psychic, praying he switches into Tauros, which he does. I get to just Psychic and Oko the Tauros, which is huge. He switches into Cloyster, and he doesn't know I'm Mirror Herb. So I just sit here, and I'm like, alright, I'll Flamethrower. Oh, look at that Sash. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, a Shell Smash? That's cute. Whoop, and we take that. And then right there, I'm just like, alright, that's it. That's GG's. With the Mirror Herb, I sweep the rest of his team. He does get the double protect. It doesn't really mean anything, but it's just funny. But I do end up winning this game 6-0 here because he literally can't outspeed me at all, and I just kill everything with my +2 special attack and speed. So Mirror Herb Chi-Yu coming in clutch. The Grimmsnarl eject pack went insane at the start to switch into Jolteon to essentially force out Lando and start my offense. Kamala killing Diancie essentially made Chi-Yu be able to sweep his whole team for the most part. Yeah, and Kuja being an absolute tank and a wall and such a great mon. But so we win 6-0 for week 2. I think at the moment that puts us in 3rd place because Citric, who had his match the other day, also 6-0'd, which puts him, and he had a better week 1, so it puts him 1 step higher than me. And then there was another team that did really well there both weeks and just had a low differential. Because my first week I won 1-0, so I didn't have the greatest differential. Well, the other teams I think won very highly, like 5-1 or 5-0 or like 4-0 both games, which so they just had a better differential than me. But I think that puts us in third. We're doing pretty good. I thought these two matchups, the first 2 weeks, were going to be my hardest matchups, without a doubt. But I was able to scrape by week 1, and then week 2 I was able to use a nice mirror herb tech with Chi-Yu to sweep, which is really cool. But yeah, that's all for week 2. I should be back for next week's battle, versus. Let's see who I have to play versus. The Charlotte Zards, who's another team that I think that I have trouble with, but we shall see. It should be an interesting match. But that's it. Cool. See ya.